Hi, I'm Ted Crawford. I'm a family practice physician here in the Tucson area, and I graduated from medical school 30 years ago. And what we were taught at that time, and still taught today, is how to treat many of the chronic diseases that we suffer from, such as obesity, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, and cancer. But very little emphasis is placed on prevention and preventing those serious diseases. Things have not changed that much. The most important advice I could give to any patient is what I'm about to tell you now. And all of this information I didn't learn in medical school or internship or residency program. I learned them in the past 3 years. First of all, after seeing Forks Over Knives, the documentary, 3 years ago. Since then, I've read every book I can get my hand on, seen the DVDs, attended the conferences like the one coming up this weekend in Tucson, put on by Healthy You Network, and I've learned all I can. I think this is the most important advice I could give to any patient, is how to eat right and how to live right. Living in America, we assume that we have the best of everything, including the best diet, food, and health care. But if we pause a minute, take a step back, take our blinders off, and look at the diseases we have and compare it to those, how often those diseases occur in other countries, we see that there's a vast difference. The United States is right at the top with such diseases as obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and many of the cancers, most specifically prostate, breast, and colon. And these are all due primarily by the type of food we elect to eat, unfortunately. I'm going to tell my story because it's kind of a good representation, because I'm a product of this. And like I said, I just changed my life 3 years ago. But I was brought up, raised, and educated in Iowa. We were raised in the breadbasket of the country, so to speak. We ate meat, drank milk at every meal, had plenty of ice cream and cheese, and those were the types of foods my parents were brought up on, their parents were brought up on, and they didn't know any better. So that's what we were fed. My wife and I went to see Forks Over Knives in Tucson 3 years ago, like I said. My parents suffered from a lot of those same diseases I mentioned before, specifically cardiovascular disease. And I myself was on 2 blood pressure medications, a medication for cholesterol, a medication for heartburn, and the writing was on the wall. I was heading down the same road or path as my parents. After seeing Forks Over Knives, I decided I needed to make a change. And this is the only way to do it, was to change my way of eating and living. What I learned is this: the most important decision we make every day is what we elect to put in our mouths, what we elect to feed ourselves. We have 2 huge myths to overcome in our American culture that are so entrenched that these 2 myths are hard to break. One, we need to get rid of the notion that all the diseases we suffer, whether it be diabetes, cardiovascular disease, or cancer, are just a part of life, that they're bound to occur. It's just kind of the roll of the dice, whether you're lucky enough to get one or the other or none at all. But the reality is, over 70% of our diseases that we succumb to are totally preventable. And a lot of them are completely reversible if we change our way of eating. The second myth we need to change is the pervasive belief that eating animals and consuming dairy is a requirement for good health, when in fact this is entirely the opposite. The more animal products, animal protein, animal fat that we consume, the more unhealthy we're going to be, the more diseases we're going to suffer from. 1.1 billion people in the world are suffering from hunger. That's 1/7 of the world's population. 6 million children are going to die this year from starvation. That's a wake-up call. That's That's a fact that most Americans do not understand, do not realize, and unfortunately maybe do not even think about or care about. Unfortunately, 70% of the grain we produce in the United States is fed to livestock, to raise them up to feed ourselves. If we stop that by itself, we could solve the world's hunger problem. Most of our fresh water that we use to raise and slaughter is used to raise and slaughter animals for meat. Let me repeat that again. Most of our fresh water that we have in the United States that we pull out of the ground or our rivers or streams is used to raise livestock and to slaughter livestock. Think of that for a moment. Our choice of eating animals and their products as food is the driving force behind the demand for raising livestock and the fishing industry. We raise, feed, water, and kill 70 billion animals per year on this planet. That is 10 times the population of the Earth. That's absurd. In this demand for meat, another big factor is that it's the largest creator or contributor to climate change. Methane and nitrous oxide are two heat-trapping gases that are much more powerful at trapping heat than carbon dioxide that we normally hear about. In fact, methane is 23 times more powerful than CO2, and nitrous oxide is 310 times more efficient at trapping heat, causing climate change. And 40% of the methane and 65% of the nitrous oxide produced by all human activities come from livestock. Our rainforests, they're considered the lungs of our planet and produce over 20% of the oxygen that we breathe on Earth. Unfortunately, 70% of the rainforests on our planet now have been slashed and cleared for the raising of livestock. It's quickly disappearing, and we have to take steps now to prevent any further destruction. My wife and I started eating the way we do, a whole foods, plant-based diet for our own health. That was the primary reason we started doing this. And we made great strides in our health. I got rid of all my medications for blood pressure, cholesterol, for migraines, for heartburn. I lost 30 pounds. That's just kind of a side effect from eating this way. And I have much more energy. I feel a lot better, of course. But the most important message I can give my patients, or anyone for that matter, is to take responsibility for your own health. Don't follow the bad habits of your friends or your family. You've only got one life, you only got one body, and you've got to take care of it now. The more I learn, the more I realize that adopting an herbivorous lifestyle is so vital on the bigger stage, in addition to primarily just better health. So it's more about health. It's about saving our civilization and our planet. It is that important, and the time is now.